Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. We are your Indie Film Podcast hosts. Our goal with this podcast is to share our personal indie filmmaking failures so that you can avoid them.
So follow us on our journey to probably become famous filmmakers one day.
Or just incur a hell of a lot more debt than we have already. Because filmmaking is expensive.
It is.
If this is your hobby, get ready to spend a lot of cash.
Yeah. But then they're tax write-offs. We're going into tax stuff because it's February, right?
Yeah, it's a little trite, though. I think we should wait until after the fact. We can do an episode in May about taxes and be like, you know what you should have done? We're going to talk about perils of production in the month of February.
Yes.
Not taxes, perils of production. And this episode, we're titling Camera Crew Confessions.
Which is not some weird teen drama.
What is teen drama?
Like a teen drama, you know, like a Clueless was a comedy, I guess.
Well, I don't know. We can add parts of it that have teen drama in it. Or maybe not. Or we can just talk about cameras.
Let's talk about cameras.
And how we've screwed up.
Yeah.
Should we Rochambeau to see who goes first? Because camera department is something that you can screw up on so many different areas.
There are a lot of ways to screw up your shots. And Chuck and I both have the lovely experience of usually being on camera.
So let's talk about embarrassing stuff that you've done. I've been able to mitigate some of those embarrassing aspects of screwed up camera work because I do my own post. So you can fix a lot of that stuff in the edit if you make a major mistake. But if you hand something off to someone, it can get real embarrassing real quick.
Let's not underestimate your ability to embarrass yourself live on set either.
That's true. There's a lot of ways to embarrass yourself when you're an indie filmmaker. Do you want to share first?
No, I saved mine for a second because I assumed you had some fun ones to share first.
Well, so early on in filmmaking, my brother and I, we are Lower Gentry Studios. We did not know how a camera worked at all.
Fair.
So we started with scripting, which we did okay in the 48-hour film festivals here in Idaho, just based on the fact that we came up with some interesting ideas. But we had no clue how a camera worked. We didn't know what aperture was. We didn't know what ISO was. We didn't understand how exposure worked at all.
That's tough.
If you look at a shining example on our YouTube channel, is called Guru's Sandbox. It's a sci-fi 48-hour short film.
Fun.
And there is a shot in there where our lead actor is in front of a window. And because our little Canon Handycam was set on auto mode, which is basically how we shot a majority of our films in the first 5 years of filmmaking, just putting it on auto mode and using the camera's audio, which we'll get into in one of these episodes in the Perils of Production and Location Sound. But when you put it on auto mode, the exposure is just going to do whatever the hell it thinks is right.
Yeah,
and so it exposed for the outside window. And you can't see the person.
Yeah. It's never problematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
So if you look at Guru Sandbox, it's towards the end. There's a scene with our friend Brian Walker holding a gun at somebody that broke into his house, and all you see is just the window. And it's absolutely brilliant. We didn't know. And if you look at those live viewfinders or whatever, those are usually compressed on their signal, so you might be able to make out some detail, but we didn't know how to fix any of that stuff in post. It was a heavily compressed MP4 format, so it was
I don't know if
nightmare.
there would have been much you could do in post for something like that, even if you did have the experience doing it.
It was bad. What do you got?
I think other than the very classic, forgetting to hit record, because that happens a lot.
I'm looking at the camera right now that we're recording with. The red light's on.
Always go with the red light. Just trust it. Let it be your friend. Lean in. Now, it sucks when you're behind the camera and there's no indicator light on that side.
Which some cameras do have that.
Some cameras do
don't.
now,
Mm-hmm.
but they did not always.
Panasonic, shout out to them. They do all right on those now.
Yeah.
That's what we're recording on right now. And if Panasonic wants to send us some money as a sponsor, please send me more cameras.
Sounds
Because
great.
I love Panasonic.
You do. As you'll find out in this episode, I love my Canons. So.
Well, does it have a record indicator on the camera side of it on some of those Canons?
Yes, actually.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, which was nice.
Good feature.
Yes, it's a very good feature to have. Some of the Canons I've had did not. But there was my personal favorite was a game we used to play when we were shooting a web series called Death. And it would be a game of where's the mic and trying to find it because it was always in the shot somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Always. We did our best to hide it. We hid it in shoes. We would hide it like under
Is this
blankets.
like a lav mic or something?
Nope.
Oh. So who was location sound on this?
That would have been a really good position to fill.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been smart. Yeah.
So you were just hiding mics around and trying to keep them out of the shot and get audio that way.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was exciting. But I think
that sounds rough.
I think up there would be on a more professional set that actually had a budget, but I was still a very young filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the lovely duty of 2AC, which is usually the one who's running slate. And that was when it hit me. I don't actually know what comes after Delta in that, I don't even know the name for it, the weird military alphabet.
Oh, is it Epsilon?
I don't know, or Echo or something.
Oh.
Yeah. So that would have been
Like
a good thing
Charlie
to know.
Tango Foxtrot or whatever.
Yeah. I could not for the life of me come up with a word that started with E.
Mm.
So I finally stuttered out elephant.
Nice.
And it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever experienced on a set at that particular time. Because that wasn't just that I was trying to learn slate. That was that I also look like an idiot. And that's...
I think elephant is the call letter. I think that's what it is. Or do they call it, or call sign for the call letter?
I don't know. The director barked like Echo back at me really loudly. So now I remember that it's Echo. But,
okay.
Or at least in that case, it was Echo.
For some reason, I was doing Greek numerals or Greek letters. I think it's epsilon. But no, I know what you're talking. Is it like alpha, beta? No, I'm thinking of something else.
But Charlie,
yes.
Delta. Yeah.
That's
That's the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot?
Yes.
WTF. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I don't even... Slate has been one of those things that we didn't do much on set for lower gentry work until very recently.
Nice.
So I don't even know, why would you be doing the letters on there? Why is there
for
a letter?
your shot.
Oh, for the shot you do a letter?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
You
just number
usually,
them all.
Yeah, but like...
Shot scene.
Yeah, so like your scene is like your number, and then your shot is your letter, and then your take is a number. So it's number, letter, number, and then that way, if you have inserts, then you add a like an A or a B or whatever at the end of the number.
We just do numbers all the way across. It's just so many numbers. That's how I set up my recorders.
You had a number, so if you have to do an insert shot instead of being 3A, take one, it's 3A1? Oh, God, now I don't even remember.
See, I'm throwing you off by asking too many questions.
Because I always give up and I just create a new shot and add it manually to my shot list with a new letter.
Time code is amazing.
Time code is great.
You should still slate stuff, but if you have time code, just do the time code thing.
It helps me in the edit, though, because then I can sort all my footage.
That's true. When you're looking at when you're looking at each shot and you can see what's going on and looking at the slate and assume that one of the last takes that you had is going to be the most usable, especially in indie film. Like, I have 3. I'll probably use the last one. And then work your way backwards from there.
I like it.
That makes sense.
And perfect opportunity to call for a shout out. If anybody who's watching this knows better than us and actually knows the right way that you're supposed to do this, I'm going to think specifically of Nick Fry. He's an amazing audio tech. I believe he walked me through this in detail once.
Yeah,
and obviously I didn't remember all of it. Sorry, Nick.
I had to do location sound for somebody that I didn't know one time, and I realized that it's the location sound's job to bring the slate.
Oh.
And that's something that's ubiquitous throughout the United States. I happened to have a slate with me. It didn't have time code.
That lucked out.
Yeah, it didn't have time code built in, but that's one of the reasons that location sound is in charge of the slate. Is for we're not talking about camera stuff.
We're not, but I'm going to throw that as another Chuck pro tip.
Oh.
If you're running location sound, what should you always bring?
Bring a slate. Why not?
It's your responsibility.
That's your job, damn
Forget
it.
the 2AC, even though they're the one who has to write
Well,
on it.
location sound can't run the slate, but it's part of their equipment list, I guess, in a lot of sets. I do want to share one of my most embarrassing screw-ups that I was able to fix, but I shot a commercial for Jesse Blake Rundle.
Amazing musician.
Amazing musician.
Ridiculously talented. Will be at Treefort this year if you're going to Treefort Music Fest.
Yeah. Go check him out. Jesse Blake Rundle has a studio, Mixed Metaphor. We owed him a lot of favors for doing the score for our feature film, and I went and shot a commercial for him. And we were just getting some B-roll of him setting up, and we spent an afternoon. I was able to cut around the situation, but I double-clicked record. After what I was supposed to cut, I clicked it twice, and I didn't even notice that. And so if you're unaware of the situation, if you're recording and you accidentally hit record twice, what happens is that you stop the recording and then you start recording again. So I had like 5 or 10 minutes of me getting the shot set up. And in spite of the fact that my Panasonic does have a record indicator on the back of the screen, I completely ignored that after I got my shot set up. And I said, all right, let's go. And I could hear myself say that and then cut. And I did that. I did end up catching it a couple minutes later. So
okay. You did catch it.
Yeah, but I had to edit. It was already after we had done like a lot of the setup stuff. And yeah, it was kind of embarrassing to watch that double click. You don't want to double click record.
No, that's up there with forgetting to hit record.
Mm-hmm.
See, look at us going full circle back to the red indicator light.
Yeah, it's crucial.
So vital.
So one of the acronyms that my brother and I came up with to help in these situations, because we did a music series, Treasure Valley Live. You can check that out on YouTube, where for the initial episodes, it was just him and I doing everything. So he would run multiple cameras. I would do all the miking and the sound, and also maybe run a camera or two. And we were doing, like 4 to 5 camera setups for a band. And it was in this room here. And when you're doing that with all those different cameras, you need to figure out a way to make sure that everything is correct before you tell the band to start playing.
Yeah, you don't want to stop them halfway through a song.
Exactly. And so our acronym is WIFLE. And it's WIFLE.
Like the bat?
Yeah, but it's WIFLE with 4 Fs. So it's WIFFFLE.
So it's WIFLE for dyslexics.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. So W, white balance. So
Smart.
Check all your cameras, make sure the white balance is correct based on whatever lighting you have set up and the K value on your camera. ISO. You want to make sure that you're not cranking that up too high if it's at all avoidable. And FFF is for focus.
Important.
Super crucial.
Very important.
And I don't care how good you are at focus. It's taken me years to be able to nail that down. And if you don't have a good monitor on your camera, you're still going to screw it up every once in a while.
Absolutely.
Just ever so slightly.
I hate playing 1AC because of that. Pulling focus is so difficult.
It is. You need to have a nice monitor for that. It helps
You do.
a lot to get a good sized Atomos or whatever brand. I don't know why I say Atomos.
I like Atomos. I have an Atomos. I use
okay.
Atomos. They're good.
Well, anything over, I don't know, like 9 inches is pretty good.
You definitely need something that's got enough size so you can actually see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Okay, so next F.
Focus, framing, and f-stop.
Nice.
L stands for level. Make sure your damn camera's level. If you have a Blackmagic, it's a little trickier because they don't have a level on the background. They kind of do. It's kind of shitty, though. I don't know if you've seen
I've
their
never
built-in level.
used the level on the camera before. I always use the level on the tripod and then just what looks off.
Oh, yeah. That's another rule, too, that I learned from when I was filming at a tech company that we did their electronics, and it's a lot of boxy stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the camera shows level. If it looks off, it looks off.
That was my best advice I've ever gotten from a graphic designer. Just because it looks centered, or just because it says it's centered, if it doesn't look centered, it's not centered.
Mm-hmm. You got to use, your own judgment. And then the E in WIFLE is for overall exposure. Make sure that your exposure is looking good.
Sweet. Wait, hold on. Did I miss an F? Oh.
No, it was 3 of them. Focus, framing, f-stop. And so people
Focus, framing, f-stop.
Yeah, and so people that are unaware of f-stop, that's just the aperture setting. And I think they call it t-stop in film, but we all use mirrorless. But
Yeah.
so that's the aperture setting. If you have an open aperture, it's going to let more light in. However, it's going to make your focus plane a lot narrower. So that's how you get that bokeh effect, they call it, is if you open the aperture wide open on your camera, you're not going to have as much of the frame in focus, but it will let more light in.
Which
so
is
the image
nice.
will usually be cleaner. Like there's a lot of technical stuff
There's
once you get into that stuff.
that gets into a lot of style.
Yeah, and each camera has its own. Each lens, excuse me, not each camera, but each lens has its own aperture values that are going to be the quote unquote clearest.
Yeah.
And so it's all lens based. But just in general, we try to keep, when we're doing a multicam shoot and you don't have enough people to where you have one person on every single camera, you want to get it on the tripod, make sure that all of those things, the boxes are ticked on that before you hit record. And it helps out a lot because we screwed up. You can go back through and take a look at some of the episodes of Treasure Valley Live, and the white balance was one of them that definitely threw us as we were learning how to color grade multiple cameras, because you don't have to do that necessarily on an indie film set.
If you only have one camera,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter so much where your white balance is because all your footage is at least coming off that camera. So if you set it at 3200, it's going to be at 3200.
Yeah, and if it's going to throw it off, obviously, if you screw up some of the lighting still. But
Well, yeah.
And all cameras look different. And so if you look at our Treasure Valley Lives, especially the earlier ones, it's when it switches cameras, you're like, this is a different camera, because we had Sonys and we had a Panasonic and we had a Blackmagic thrown in there later, which that was
Nice.
a really hard one. Because if
yeah.
you take a camera that's really good quality, like a 12-bit color RAW file, and then you're trying to match it to an 8-bit MP4, it sticks out like a sore thumb for sure.
It's rough.
When did you first start playing with cameras?
I actually picked up my first camera when I was 10.
Wow.
Yeah, we had just moved to Boise.
Okay.
And, well, halfway. We were moving to Boise. It doesn't matter. I was just living in Boise, and unlike where we were moving from, there was something called a Circuit City here, which is no longer. I think the company, they bankrupt.
That was an electronics store. They competed with Best Buy.
Yeah. And I loved that store. It was so much fun. And yeah, I
So
saved
alliterative.
up. It is very alliterative.
I bumped my water into my microphone. That's what that noise was.
I feel like you just need to actually spill the water onto the microphone and see what kind of noise is that going to make. That'll be even more exciting. Anyway.
Gurgly.
Maybe.
So you were at Circuit City.
So I was at Circuit City. I had saved up for a really long time, and I bought my very, very first camera. And I am trying so hard. I loved it. I fell in love with that camera. I filmed absolutely everything. It was very old, as you might imagine. This was 1999.
Yeah.
And it was like it filmed on actual tapes.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was so much fun. I loved it. I filmed absolutely everything. Still being in elementary school, you do all the dorky little dances because you and your friends pretend that you're the Spice Girls, because of course you do.
Nice.
And I would film all of those performances, which was just us holding the rest of our class hostage as we performed them. But I filmed all that stuff, and then it wasn't until I think it was right after. No, it was in high school. I got a Canon Vixia, or I got the Canon Vixia in college. Either way, I didn't end up with a good camera until I finally bought it as a college graduation present to myself, which was my Canon 60D.
Oh, nice.
So I finally got myself, I had to double check. It was an 18 megapixel camera, and it was, I thought I was the best, set up for every single possible shoot because I have this Canon 60D, which is not actually ideal for film. Great photo camera.
Yeah, it's a great photo camera.
But it does have the auto shut off after, so many minutes. So don't do live things with it. But if you're just shooting films, especially short films, or trying to film a feature or whatever you're doing, it worked. What about you?
I played around with a 1.3 megapixel camera, an Olympus.
Nice.
Way back in the day when digital photography first took off, I got really excited. And I think that was maybe mid 90s. You could start to get 1.3 megapixel cameras, and I thought it was just amazing that you could take pictures and then not have to go get them developed.
That was a very
Yeah.
exciting change.
I always had, when I was a kid, I always had one of those, disposable film cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Those all the time. So digital was pretty awesome. And when I got to college, I ended up buying a 5 megapixel just Canon point and shoot.
Nice.
And I took so many pictures and so many videos with that damn thing. But yeah, it's all those reps. They did end up helping me out in the long run.
Yeah.
At least for framing, because at that time I still didn't understand how a camera worked, but I had been behind it and looked at things and found out what's interesting, what's not interesting. And taking a shit ton of pictures is definitely beneficial because you'll understand what your eye is drawn to, and it helps as far as film framing is concerned too. Or if you get stuck in a location where you have to adapt, you might have a visual of what you think the shot's supposed to look like in your head, and then you realize, oh my God, this room is way smaller than what I thought it was going to be, or way bigger isn't that big of a problem. It seems like way smaller happens so much more often.
It really does.
It's like, oh, need to take this wall out to get the shot that I thought that we were going to get today. But yeah.
I will say that is one area I got extremely lucky in. So by 7th grade, there was a video tech class that you could take and start learning about what cameras were. And then a photography class that I also took. And then in 8th and 9th grade, still in junior high here in Idaho, there was video production. So that was when we got to actually learn how to edit and do more with it. But I got really lucky that I was taught that stuff.
Yeah.
At 12 years old, that helps.
Well, good luck if you're in Idaho now, because that was back when they were still spending money on education.
That was back when they spent money on education, and there was also, arts.
And your science class doesn't start with the reading of the book of Genesis. Just kidding. That doesn't happen everywhere in Idaho. I've heard stories, though. All right. Do you have any examples of some good and bad films for you as far as camera work's concerned?
I do. I have some thoughts. So I was going to focus on bad camera stuff first. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I'm excited about that because I couldn't think of a lot of bad.
I mean, you can look at and I say this with all the love in the world, so please do not hate me, but any Marvel movie.
Oh, true.
Not all of them. Not all of them. Some of them, you can tell they took the time.
Yeah.
But most of them, it's pretty much just get the coverage, get it out the door.
Yeah, not a lot of interesting shots.
Yeah, there's nothing really exciting.
Mediums, two shots of people having conversations.
Yeah, the exciting stuff is the hero. That's cool. But
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw this one out there, which is also kind of painful for me because I love the movie despite this.
Okay.
Phantom of the Opera.
I haven't seen the movie The Phantom of the Opera.
It's Emmy Rossum and Gerard Butler.
Okay.
And Phantom of the Opera is absolutely an amazing musical opera, whatever you want to call it. It's incredible. I love the show. And I think maybe that's part of the problem. I love the live show. I've seen it when it's come on its touring production. I've seen it on Broadway. Sadly, you can't see it. Finally closed after 30 some odd years, I think. Anyway, it was the longest running show on. This isn't about Broadway or musicals. Anyway, the Phantom of the Opera movie is really boring and flat. And I don't know if it's just because you can so easily compare it to the stage production, which is big and impressive and intense, and it's got a moat in it, which you don't see a lot of shows with a bunch of water happening, right? What shows have a water feature? That's different. There's a lot going on with the show.
Yeah.
And the movie really fell flat. And if you love the movie and you are sitting there telling me how terrible I am for having this thought, I will argue with you. Turn off the sound and then watch it. Get rid of the music, get rid of the amazing voices, get rid of the ridiculous talent that's happening there, and then you really just notice the shots. The whole dreamy sequence where they're walking down the hallway is just weird and really boring.
Oh, okay.
They're just a bunch of these weird crossfaded, which I already have an issue with, montagey shots of them walking down a hallway with a bunch of candlesticks.
Huh. So that one sucks.
It's really boring.
I'm not going to watch it. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to watch it
it's
now.
good. It's still good. I love the movie, but the camera work is just...
Camera work's boring?
Yeah, it's so boring.
When I was thinking about bad examples, I was looking for stuff that, I guess framing is technically You want to keep the framing interesting.
I
But
thought that was a good example of it's
Yeah.
just bad framing.
I wrote
and
down-
bad lighting.
I wrote down Alien versus Predator 2
Oh, okay.
because the whole movie is just underexposed.
Yeah.
It's just notoriously bad. If you ever turn that one on, you're like, I don't know what's happening at all right now because it's just
It's
dark.
too dark. Well, that started getting so trendy for a while. It was actually a meme. The Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
You could, since we have 3 generations of them, you could
Yeah.
see the Tobey Maguire, and it was like really bright, and you
Yeah.
could see everything. And then they have Andrew Garfield, and it's like, okay, well, we can still kind of tell what's happening. And then they go to Tom Holland, and you're like, what is this? This is a black frame. I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
So Alien versus Predator
Yeah. It's just too dark to even see what the hell's going on.
that's valid.
It's pretty bad. But if you think of examples like Tim Burton's Batman from 1989, that was kind of on the bleeding edge of that dark. But you
Yeah.
could see everything. Things were exposed correctly.
They bothered to light the dark parts so that you could still tell what was happening. It
Yeah.
wasn't just that everything faded into this black abyss.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that was a cool, I thought, when I was a kid. I mean, that came out in 89, and when I first saw that, I just remember being completely captivated. But there was a lot going on there visually
Yeah.
in that Batman. It was, plus they were coming off of the silly Batmans. So that was what Batman was prior to the 89 Tim Burton, at least on film and TV. It was,
Everybody has shark spray.
yeah, it was good stuff. I mean, that's a great movie. The first Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that came out. Adam West.
I
It was
don't
great.
remember, but it
was
was
like
phenomenal.
70-something.
And Adam West is just amazing. Yeah. So.
Do you have an example of what you strive for as far as camera work in film? A Hollywood movie where you're like, yes, nailed it.
Krampus.
Krampus.
Yes.
That is
The
a fun one.
opening sequence of Krampus. It's just beautiful. Google it if you don't have it, or maybe we post a link to it. We can just do that. We'll find it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon too.
Yeah, but it's just the opening sequence. It's just beautiful. And I don't remember the right way to pronounce the cinematographer's name.
That's okay.
Feel bad, but just crushed it.
Right on.
It's amazing. It's my favorite 3 minutes of cinema.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
So that high up there.
it's up there.
Right on.
It's beautiful.
I wrote down some examples that I like. Shining. I love the framing. Anything that Kubrick's done,
Oh.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Shining is pretty amazing
Solid.
overall.
Yeah.
And he breaks the 180 rule intentionally in that. And I explained 180 rule before, but if
Yeah.
you're unfamiliar with that, basically the idea is if you have a scene that you're filming, you want to make sure that you're filming it from the perspective of the audience, and you don't want to like cross that line. So you don't want to cross the 180-degree plane
So that
with the
suddenly
camera.
people who were on the left are now more aligned right, and then suddenly you're having a harder time. Or if people were walking toward the left, camera left, when you're screen left or whatever left you happen to use, and suddenly in the next shot they're walking to the right. It gets a little jarring for the viewer.
Yeah, especially with movement. But Kubrick
Yes.
does that intentionally in The Shining, and it's disorienting, and it's kind of cool.
And the whole point is that you're supposed to feel like you're slowly going psycho with him, so it's perfectly executed.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say along those lines, I absolutely hate handheld stuff. I despise it.
Oh,
I hate handheld film. I really do.
Blair Witch Project even?
That's actually what I was going to bring up. I was like, my reviews on the movie itself as a whole are mixed, but it was brilliant and very, very different for the time and made a crap ton of money. So obviously did well.
Yeah.
I hate it. I just hated watching it because I really hate that shaky cam feel.
Okay.
But man, you couldn't have shot that any other way. It only made sense to shoot it that way. So I'm going to say like that was the right way to do it and really well done. But personally, I don't enjoy it.
Well, you can't please everybody.
No, but I can still commend them on the artistic choice of doing it.
I don't even remember. I watched Blair Witch Project when it came out in the theater, and I don't remember much about it. I kind of remember being underwhelmed, but I guess it did start a genre.
It did. It did. I mean, and then the next movie that profited nearly that much from such a low budget horror style was Paranormal Activity, which
Oh,
is
that's
very
right.
similar, right? Except instead of found footage, it's security footage.
Yep.
Your ring cam just ruining your
It's
life.
like all the indie filmmakers' dreams is to figure out a way to where you can use janky, cheap footage and have everybody grab onto it.
And just fall in love and start a 18 sequel situation.
That would be nice.
Okay, so Chuck, how do you practice cinematography?
How do I practice cinematography? That's something that I try to take pictures a lot. If you're an indie filmmaker, I found out recently if you create a stock photo and video account and make a point, you don't make a lot of money from it. You're not going to get rich.
No.
But if you take the time to upload some of your stock footage or take the time to take some pictures, and I've had Adobe approve stock photos, at least, that I've taken on my phone.
Yeah.
And I have a Pixel 6a, which cost me like $200 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not an expensive phone, but I've made, like $4 with some of those phone pictures.
One
that they've
caveat
approved.
here, are you taking those raw photos and submitting them, or are you doing anything to those photos?
Oh, I'm processing them.
Yep.
I do process them in Lightroom.
Don't listen to everyone on TikTok or Instagram or whatever unbanned social media platform you have access to as they tell you that you can just upload photos from your phone and you'll just start making millions of dollars on the side. That is a lie. No, you won't. You can definitely do it, but you need to edit the photos. You need to clean them up, and you need to make sure you have image release. There's a whole process to it.
Yes, you can't have people in there, so unless you have the image release.
Yes.
So I have pictures of myself, selfies that I've taken, in front of scenery and things like that, and just a lot of scenic crap. And I do process all of them in Lightroom.
Yes.
Because I do have raw photo capabilities on my phone.
Which is nice.
But that does help. It helps. It helps me
does.
think about that stuff as I'm just wandering about the world. It's like, oh, how can I make, $1 from this situation where I'm seeing something that's photogenic and take a picture of it. How about you? What do you do?
I actually, similar, I like to just, grab your damn camera. Just go take some photos, take some video. I recently watched Better Call Saul.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That is a great example of cinematography, I think, personally.
I love the cinematography in that show, and I didn't expect to fall in love with cinematography of a TV show.
Yeah.
But I really did, and...
It's a little ostentatious sometimes. It's very Wes Anderson-y on some of the stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean,
It's
Wes
beautiful.
Anderson stuff is beautiful too, so fair. But it inspired me to go look up some other composition styles and things that I want to try. And I just go through and find the different things and the different looks and the different feels, and then I'll just set up my camera and try to shoot something. Even if the subject is, my cat or something like that I want to shoot them through like barrister, like the stair, baluster, barrister, whatever those things are called. And
the little wooden poles.
The wooden
stairs.
poles on your stairs. I, find a creative way to frame it through that so that you're like watching your subject move. Or, if it's the case of an animal, I guess they're going to do whatever they're going to do. You don't get to control that. But you could also call a friend, call your neighbor.
Yeah.
Force the next door-to-door salesperson who has the audacity to ring your bell. Make them stand in. Because they're
really good
wasting
idea.
your time.
That's nice. I should do that next time I have the Mormon church come visit me and ask me if they...
not just church, like anybody. If they're selling you solar panels, be like, great, yes, but can you help me with something first? And then see what happens.
Okay. So missionaries and salespeople, that's your advice is to take pictures and videos of missionaries and salespeople to practice cinematography. I think that's great advice.
I think maybe we should focus on just grab your damn camera.
Oh yeah, that too.
Just do it.
Just keep it right next to the front door. That way when the bell rings and they interrupt your dinner or whatever, you can be like, hey, guess what? I'm making a video. Sign this release and...
Now you're in it.
And I'm going to put it on the internet.
Exactly. And then make like 10 cents off it. Look at you go.
I think this is great advice.
I'm pretty sure this might be the best advice we've given yet.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think a succinct farewell is a good farewell.
Beautiful.
Goodbye.
Bye.